Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for The Originals, Season 1, Episode 22, the season finale, From a Cradle to a Grave, that's what it was called. And that was the perfect title for this episode, because, I mean, the way this episode started, but, oh my god, what a great finale. I mean, seriously, this is the kind of finale you look for in show. I mean, this is the kind of finale we should have gotten. This is the kind of finale I love. It had everything that I could have wanted in a finale, and I couldn't have been happier with this finale. I loved everything about this finale, and overall, I thought this was a perfect finale, in my opinion. I didn't have any problems with it. And because of that, I love this finale. I thought it was a great finale, and I cannot wait for next season. Holy shit, that ending just pulled me right in for next season. And, you know, I love the ending of this episode. I love a lot of the scenes in this episode. And this episode has so many emotions. It's heartbreaking. It's intense. It's violent. It's everything you love about this show. And, I will say right now, The Originals, even though as much as I love Arrow, this is the best show on the CW. I'm going to say that right now. I don't care. Arrow, I love you. I love Arrow. I love you, Arrow. I love the show Arrow. But The Originals is my favorite show on CW right now because of this finale. And I don't know if Arrow could do a better finale than this, because this finale was just so good. Let's just get to it. So, we first see sort of like a flashback. We see Haley singing the son writing a letter. Klaus is asking if she's writing it to Elijah or Jackson. She smiles and he asks if it's to him. She says he thought he was out of the running. She jokes him, and Klaus asks about the baby. She encourages him to rub her belly. He lays his hand on her swollen stomach, gasps as her child kicks. Klaus stands, leaves her to her secret letter. She resumes writing her letter to Zoe, Caitlin, or Angela. She still hasn't thought of a name yet. And she says her dad asked if it was a love letter, and it kind of is. So, I thought that was a good scene. It was kind of to show sort of like a final Klaus-Haley scene. Now we see, you know, we start off right where the last one left off, with Haley screaming and in pain at the witches. She's calling them names. Klaus staggers into the church, kills the first person that comes at him. Monique throws him with magic. Haley narrates reading her letter while we see this, and I thought that was very well done. As Haley is reading her letter, we see all of this intense action happening, and there's no, like, sounds or anything, and I thought that was actually pretty well done the way they did that. It made it it made the scene much more grim than it already was. Basically, she tells her unborn daughter that she never knew her own mother and wants for her people that will care about her and fight for her, a family together. She closes the letter with love. Very important line, a family. This episode is all about family and the importance of family and what really makes a family. And you know what? For a show that is a horror series, I never thought they would do something like that. And that's what I love about The Originals. It's just such a more human show. They don't care about as much as the horror as they do about the family. And I love that about the show. So, Haley screams as Genevieve tells her that she'll make her quick, says, "This brings me no joy." Haley screams again. The vampires are all sick with wolf blood when Davina comes in. She asks Cammie what happened, sees that Marcel was bitten. He tells her they need Klaus's blood to save them. She asks if he spilled Klaus's blood when they fought. He says he did and tells her where to find the blood. So Josh staggers up as Davina starts chanting. As we know, she wants to help Josh, and he tells her that he's fine, and she says that he should be lying down. He asks if he's hallucinating. He asks if he's hallucinating her, and she tells him she's going to save them all. She chants, and Klaus's blood lifts off the pavement, the car he was smashed into, and Josh then says he is hallucinating. You know, he's starting to have hallucinations, and the baby is almost there. Genevieve tells her to push. Klaus is pinned to the wall, threatens them. He says they will all die screaming. Their daughter's born. As soon as the daughter's born, Genevieve says she's beautiful, and then Klaus is stunned and his new daughter cries. Haley asks to hold her. Genevieve lets her, but before that happens, Monique goes up to Haley, slashes her neck. Haley's dead. We're literally 5 minutes into the episode. Haley's dead. I was just like, Haley's not dead. It is too early in the episode for Haley to be dead. They would not do that to us, but you know what? I thought that it was definitely very well done, because it showed the characters basically being really upset that Haley was dead. I had a feeling they were going to kill off Haley, but I was just like, damn, we're only 10 minutes into the episode, and Haley's dead already. Shit, this is going to be an intense one, and it really was an intense episode. Klaus screams as the witches leave with the baby. He falls down from the wall, free from the magic, but still very weak from the rock empowering spell. Elijah bursts in, calling for Haley. His vision is blurry. He sees her on the ground by the altar. Klaus holds her head in his lap. Elijah cries and says no, bows his head. Klaus tells him she's gone. He's crying, and Elijah's crying. It was very, very... I love the emotion in this episode. Almost every scene had me crying. That's how good this finale was. Almost every scene had me crying. Klaus notices that his brother has been bitten, bites his own wrist, and offers it to Elijah. Davina brings a glass of Klaus's blood to the compound. Marcel says there's only enough there for one. She says it has to be enough. Davina says she can't choose between him and Josh and says not to make her choice. Marcel says he'll save Josh since he has little time left and says he's one of his guys and enough of his guys have died today. He gives the blood to Josh, who drinks it. You know, he's preparing for the fight with him and Klaus, so he is preparing for that, so... Mikeal's there and tells Davina 1 point for her and one for Nicholas. Cammie asks Marcel where he's going, and he says he's going to find Klaus and get his blood so he can save as many of his people as possible. Cammie says he needs a weapon, and she has an arsenal. Elijah asks Klaus how it happened, and he says he was bested. Elijah can't comprehend that, and he screams. He calls him his invisible brother. Klaus tells him they took the baby, but they still can save her. They head to the cemetery, and they can't find the witches. Elijah says they are not there. But Klaus says this is where they did the reaping and the harvest, so it has to be there, obviously. Klaus says they have passes the same statue there 3 times. And basically, Elijah touches a crypt and then says the witches have made an illusion. Klaus jumps high on a crypt, looks down, and says there's only one way to put it. There are crypts as far as the eyes can see, like a labyrinth of gravestone. And Cammie takes Marcel and Davina into her uncle's secret apartment, and she shows them Kieran's storeroom. And I thought this was actually a pretty good scene. We got to see some of Kieran's storeroom. Marcel says this is what he was hiding. Cammie says stockpiling. And Davina says these are dark objects made by humans. Cammie says she can't keep them secret if she can help her friends. Davina shows them a weapon called by the Devil's Star. She says one throw will make 1,000 cuts, and Marcel takes it and says they need to make him bleed. So now it's daylight in the cemetery. Klaus is frustrated. Elijah tells him that this is his fault for his lifetime of scheming and making enemies. And Elijah says this baby and Haley were their family's hope. And I just thought this was a great scene. It really shows the love that Elijah has for Haley and also for the child. Even though the child is not Elijah's, it's Klaus's. Elijah still loves the child like it's his own son, and he loves Haley like he loves Haley, and I love that about this scene. Elijah said this baby and Haley were their family's hope. Elijah says he left her in, and he doesn't let people in. And he tells Klaus he knew this and took her from him. Elijah tells Klaus that he's broken him, and he slumps on some nearby stairs. Klaus sits beside him as Elijah cries. Klaus says he can tell his niece how much he loved her mother when they saved her. And I just thought that was just such a great scene, the way that was working. I mean, it really showed that Elijah can see that, yes, I did steal Haley from you, but you know what? I let her in. I wanted to let her in. For once in my life, I let someone in. I never let anybody in. I finally let someone in. And I thought that was just a very good scene. It really showed the love, the passion that Elijah has for Haley. Just, oh my god, the emotion in that scene was so real. I love that scene. So, back at the church, Haley lies on the altar, then gasps back to life. She sits up and looks around. She remembers the birth and her throat being cut, and Klaus being held helpless while it all happened. She gets a determined look on her face and heads out of the church. I knew Haley wasn't dead. When she gasped for air, I'm like, yay, she's not dead, and I knew she wasn't dead. I knew it for sure that she wasn't dead, because it was too early in the episode. I knew they weren't going to do that to us. So, the witch they're preparing to sacrifice the baby at the moon has almost left the morning sky. Monique and her sidekick wonder if Genevieve will go through with it, and Monique says she hopes she doesn't, so that she can be the one to sacrifice both the baby and Genevieve, and they can have their friend Cassie back, because they still need the 4th harvest witch. They still never got that witch, and, you know, that's a very important thing. So, basically, Monique is planning to kill Genevieve, and basically just have Cassie back. That's what she wants. So, Genevieve heads outside, stops before a stone altar. The girls bring out the baby in a basket, and Genevieve says it's time. So, Davina talks to Mikeal, reads from the grimoire. She says she needs to channel something rare. and she says the miracle baby, and he says Voila. The witches chant and raise the child up in the air. Mikeal asks if she has the power to bring him back, and says she does. Now, she lays out objects around the run on the floor and begins to chant. The objects spin and Mikeal screams. So basically, Davina is as powerful as Bonnie. She can do everything that Bonnie can do on the Vampire Diaries. She's so much more powerful than Bonnie. And that's why I think Bonnie's gonna die. I really do. I think on tomorrow's episode, because tomorrow is the Vampire Diaries finale, Bonnie's going to die because Davina is just so much more powerful. Klaus and Elijah are in a candlelit crypt. They know they're running out of time. Klaus says they need to move faster, but then Haley's there. She says they need to move smarter. Elijah goes to her and asks how she's there. And you can see the joy on Elijah's face. He's just like, at first he's not sure if he's hallucinating or whatever. He doesn't know if she's really there. He touches her face, not believing it. She says she woke up in the church, knew what she needed. She says she can feel her daughter and that she's there. So Klaus says she died with the baby's blood in her system and tells Elijah that she's in transition. She has to drink some blood from her daughter to survive, and she'll be a hybrid. So Haley's going to be a hybrid now. So that's definitely interesting. So Haley says she doesn't care about herself, but is going to find their daughter. And I just think that's so good. We saw that Haley doesn't care what happens to her. All she cares about is her daughter, which is just, it's so selfless. And I think that's great because Haley's gone from selfish to selfless. She really has, and I think that's fantastic. You've really seen Haley grown over the season, and I've loved that about her character. In the beginning of the season, I didn't give a shit about her character. Now, I loved her character in this episode. I thought she was great. So Davina chants, and Mikeal screams and writhes, and there's a lot going on in the scene, keep in mind. Davina collapses, so does Mikeal. Haley marches into the cemetery, the vampires follow her. Mikeal wakes up gasping. Haley sees the witches and yells, "Don't." Klaus throws a vase, knocks Genevieve back. The witches push back against Elijah and Klaus and tell them that they are facing all of the witches in this place of power. Mikeal comes into the compound courtyard, bites Diego, roars with power. Klaus sees the ghost of witches pass. Genevieve pushes back on Haley with her power. The brothers keep rising and fighting. Just a lot of intense shit is going down right now. It's awesome. Klaus throws a metal spike, impales one witch, and then the magic lessens. And then Monique runs to grab the knife, but she then explodes, and Monique is dead. And honestly, I am happy because I hated Monique. I'm just going to say that right now. I hated Monique. I hated Genevieve, and I'm so glad that Monique died. And then we get probably the most crucial scene from Marcel we have gotten all season long. I mean, seriously, this is such a crucial scene. It really sets up where his character is going next season. I mean, his character after this scene changes so much. Marcel is there, and guess what he does? He throws the devil's star at her. She collapses, so Monique is dead. Marcel's killed her. Marcel then grabs the baby and dashes away. We don't know what he's going to do with this baby. Klaus finds him at the compound, and Marcel and him have this conversation. Basically tells him he was too late and there should have been more time. Klaus says it looks like the wolves came back to finish them off. Klaus says he knows he took his daughter, so he would heal Marcel and his friends. Klaus offers Marcel his wrist. Marcel says it's the last note in a song he started a century ago when he brought Mikeal to town. He tells Klaus he's sorry for that. What he's saying is that this is the end of the feud. Their feud, it's over. He finally forgives Klaus. He forgives Klaus, and he's basically realizing our feud was pointless. Our feud was pointless. There was no reason for us to be fighting, and we are a family. We are, and that's what we are, and I thought that was great. So Klaus kneels, tells Marcel he saved his child's life, and for that he deserves to be saved. He offers his wrist again. Marcel bites it. Klaus says it will take down whichever brought this upon them. He swears it. Klaus and Marcel look at the baby, and Klaus takes her from him, shushes her. She stares up in awe and says, "Hey there." Marcel stands and the baby looks at him, and then back at Klaus. And I just thought it was such a great scene, because now Klaus and Marcel, they're both in a great place. They're both going to be working together. They're not taking anybody down. They are realizing that they're all one big family. You know, even the ones that don't, even like Davina and Cammie, they are still family. And I just thought that was great. It really just changed them in this episode. So Cammie takes Marcel and Davina to her uncle's secret apartment. She shows them Kieran's storeroom. Marcel says this is what he was, you know, basically what happens next is, basically, it's daylight in the cemetery, and Klaus is frustrated. Elijah then tells them that, Elijah, tells him that this is his fault for his lifetime of scheming and making enemies. Elijah said this baby and Haley were their families, and basically, oh, I just read that, sorry. So, basically, this is weird. I'm reading off of something, and it just, like, literally copied the same thing. That's weird. I'm confused. Okay. Okay, there we go. So, basically, Klaus kneels, tells Marcel he saved child's life, and for that he deserves to be saved. Okay, I just read that. Mikeal stares at this from a window inside the compound. He has a white oak stake in his hand, and his mouth is dripping blood from his Gorg attack. Klaus lays his daughters down in a crib. Mikeal climbs the stairs, comes for him. He can't enter the room. Davina's there staring at Mikeal. Klaus comes downstairs and looks around. And at the church, Mikeal asks Davina to stop. She says she brought him back to punish Klaus, and she says she will get to kill him eventually. She says she added something to the spell and shows him her bracket. She says she spent 8 months in the attic being used as a secret weapon, and says it's his turn to see what that was like. She entraps him there with magic and forces him to kneel. So, basically, Davina has all the power now, it seems. Elijah claps irons and chains on Genevieve, and Haley asks her why. She says it was the ancestors' decree that it had to be done, because, they still have to kill Genevieve. That's the only thing left, is that Genevieve needs to be gone. Genevieve says she's surprised he doesn't know. Haley figures out it's Esther, their mother, and Genevieve tells them that as long as the child lives, the witches will come for her, and Esther will not stop. So Genevieve says they're coming for her because she failed. Blood runs out of her eyes, she coughs. She tells Klaus to tell her she's sorry. Haley stabs Genevieve with a dagger, because obviously one of Genevieve's witches just tried to kill her, and Genevieve was planning to kill Haley anyway, so, basically, she was going to use it to sacrifice her daughter and says, I'm not. Haley nurses her daughter as Klaus tells Elijah they should have known their death wouldn't stop their daughter. Haley then says, Klaus says Haley and the baby are wolf royalty and are a threat to Francesca as well. And he says they will all come for them. Elijah says they can fight them all again and make their home a fortress. Klaus says he can't keep his daughter a prisoner. Klaus says the child has inherited all his enemies with none of his defenses. Elijah says they can leave, and Klaus says that they will still come for her. So Haley says there's a third option. And she says she grew up alone and unloved and made a promise to her daughter that she would grow up safe and loved. She says that on her first day of life, she's already in danger with a grandmother hell-bent on sacrificing her and a mother that needs to drink the blood of her own baby to transition. She's the one who loves her the most. So Haley says the only thing to do is send her away while stay behind and clean up the mess they've made. Because they want to find a good place for this child to live. They don't want her to be in the same position as Haley. They really want her to have a great life. And obviously they want to give her a great life. So Haley says the only thing to do is... So basically, that's what they decide to do. So Francesca holds a press conference, says her family is going to help everyone who was a victim of the gang violence last night. Marcel listens, then walks up away. Oliver finds him, and she says she will make sure Crescent City thrives again. That's what Francesca's saying. And then Ollie follows Marcel into a witch shop and says he wants to make a deal. And he says he can keep the wolves out of the quarter if they stay away from the other side of the river. Marcel says he made peace with Klaus. Ollie says he won't side with him over the wolves hybrids he's planning on creating. Marcel says Klaus won't side with him once they find out that his pack killed his daughter. Once they, basically he tells Ollie to check the box and says he'll know that the wolves did it. On his way out, he says he may want to opt for cremation so that Klaus doesn't smell her death on him. Ollie opens the box and is horrified at what he sees. So, what was in the box? I don't know what was in the box, so I guess we'll have to see what was in the box. But it's basically Marcel versus Ollie now, because Ollie's not willing to surrender, and definitely it's going to be pretty much like Ollie's going to be a big villain towards Marcel, so whatever. I'm sure Ollie's going to end up dead next season. Well, you'll see, Season 2, dead. Then we get a very surprising scene between Cammie and Klaus. I wasn't expecting this at all. But Cammie sees people putting down offerings to the victims of the wolf attack. She sees a paper that says, in memoriam of the baby Mikeal. Cammie comes to Klaus. Basically, they're making it seem like the baby's dead. That's what they're making it seem like. They're making it seem like the baby is dead, and that's what happened. Cammie comes to Klaus, and he tells her that she died after the wolf attack. She says she could have stopped it. Could have uncovered Francesca's plot sooner. Klaus tells her that it's his fault if anyone's, and Cammie cries and says she's so sorry. Klaus tells her he appreciates her coming, but says they cannot be friends, and she's shocked at this. He says she was right about him from the start. He says his demons will destroy him and everything he finds beautiful, and he says he finds her very beautiful. So, she's gonna destroy him, but the thing is, does Klaus really love Cammie? That's my question. I think he does, and all season long, we've been thinking Klaus and Cammie. And I stopped shipping Klaus and Cammie, but now I'm back to shipping Klaus and Cammie because of that scene right there. So, it's something going to be interesting to see what happens there. So then Klaus joins his brother on the ballstead and tells Elijah that Marcel found a stillborn baby from outside of town. He says Marcel agreed. Klaus can compel him to forget he knows anything about Klaus's baby. He also made Klaus commit to giving him several vials of his blood. Elijah asks, what about the witches? And says the fourth harvest girl will resurrect and they will hunt her. Klaus says the witches will buy what they sell as long as they sell it properly. Elijah says all that remains is to say goodbye. Haley has a letter she wrote to her daughter. Elijah's there, pricks the baby's thumb with a needle so Haley can sip a few drops of her blood. The baby cries for a moment, then stops. Klaus says they have to be convincing because everyone will be watching them. The three of them come to the site of the offerings and bring flowers. Klaus basically says he's going to leave town first and lets Elijah and Haley to mourn publicly. Elijah asks in what world his daughter will be safe without them. Klaus meets Rebekah and basically he says, what world will you be safe without them? So guess where Klaus goes? Who does he meet? Rebekah. Yes. Rebekah was back in this episode. And you know what? I was so happy because we haven't seen Rebekah since, like, episode 16. So, Rebekah's back. And I don't know if she's back for the rest of the season, but basically, he gives the baby to Rebekah. He greets her, she touches her knee, she says she looks like her mother, and he hands his daughter over to Rebekah and tells her to find a witch she can trust to cast a cloaking spell. Rebekah tells her, Rebekah takes her and she says she knows what to do, and says maybe they'll get a white picket fence. Klaus tells her daughter that as sure as his blood runs in his veins, he will strike down everyone who wishes her harm, and that one day she will return to him. Now, not the US is back that when Klaus will see his daughter again, she's not gonna be a baby anymore, she's gonna be like 6, and they're gonna like age her next season. I can definitely see them doing that, because, I mean, you really want this storyline to go, you have to have a good actress to play his daughter, and you have to have, like, a little girl. I think that would be adorable on this show, and they definitely need to do that. So, Klaus then hands her a little carved piece that they played with as a child. Klaus says in spite of their differences, there is no one he trusts more with his daughter's life than her. He kisses her and tells her to make the child happy. Rebekah asks her name. Klaus says her name is Hope, and I just thought that was so touching because the baby was born out of hope. That is why it's called Hope, because it was a miracle baby. And we think that's how it's going to end, but then we see the cemetery, and we see that girl they said was going to be resurrected. She is resurrected. Cassie's walking around. She's been resurrected. The fourth harvest girl, and this man joins her and says, may you rest in peace. She asks, what's the fun in that? And tells him that they have to do they have much to do. And he says, yes, mother. So, this is not Cassie. This is not Cassie. We see Esther's gravestone. It is not Cassie. It is Esther. Yes, everything that Genevieve said was true. Esther is back, and also her son is back. So, Esther's going to be the one to be the next big villain of next season. It's going to be awesome to see, because now we have Mikeal, and we have, because Mikeal's gone, but now we have Mikeal and Esther, and Mikeal and Esther are probably going to be the big villains of next season, and I personally can't wait. There's a lot to look forward to next season, and I loved everything about this finale. It was fantastic, and I loved it. My question is, where does Klaus go next? You know, Klaus is not going to be raising this baby. He just gave it to Rebekah. So, where is he going to be going? I really don't know. We'll have to see. Are we going to see Rebekah next season? I really hope we do. I'm sure we're going to see scenes of her, like, taking care of the baby. Or are they going to age the baby? We'll have to see what happens. Also, Ollie and Marcel. There's going to be a lot of tension between them next season. We can clearly see that. So, what's going to happen there? I really don't know. I guess we'll just have to see. What else am I thinking? Oh, Cammie. Does Klaus really love Cammie? Cammie was definitely put into this weird position where Klaus made Cammie think that, where Klaus said that he thinks she's beautiful. So, does he really love Cammie? I guess we'll just have to see. Also, Haley is a hybrid. That's going to be interesting. That is definitely going to be interesting to see how that works out. But this whole finale was amazing. I cannot wait for next season. It has been such a great season. And, of course, I'll be watching next season. I cannot wait. I think it's going to be amazing. And, yeah, it's gonna be an amazing season, and I can't wait for season 2. I do know that Daniel Sharman, from, Teen Wolf, you know, he's not gonna be on Teen Wolf anymore because he's on this show. So because of that happening, he's not gonna be on, Teen Wolf anymore. He's now going to be on this show. So he's gonna be joining the cast season 2, so we'll have to see what his character's like, because that's gonna be cool to see. But overall, this was an amazing finale. I loved everything about it. Let me know what you guys saw this finale. What was your favorite scene from the finale? Did you like the importance of family? I really love that message. That's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for Fargo. So see you then. Bye.